Matt Collins. I'd like to welcome you to Bob Weber Auto Mart on Douglas Avenue here in Racine, across from Douglas Park. We specialize in 1-year-old, low mileage, almost new cars. And if you'd like to stop by and see them, or see them on our website, bobweberautomart.com, we could save you between $5,000 and $10,000 on your next almost new car purchase.
Welcome into another edition of Sports Junkies. MC Sparky Fifer from the Wendy's Big Show on Sports Radio 1250 WSSP. Check out that show weekday afternoons from 2 until 6. He is Gery Woelfel of the Racine Journal-Times, and of course right here at RacineSportsZone.com. Time to dive into high school football. Last week, of course, we talked with...
That?
I love
high school football.
I can't wait. Coach Pancotti joined us last week, I should say, from Racine Case, and stirred up the pot a little bit, I guess you could say.
Where's your case hat today?
Oh, I didn't.
Come on.
I should have wore it. But
I thought... You are such a homer. If a park coach comes on, you'll have a park hat on.
No, well, I thought a park coach was coming on today. That's why I didn't wear the case hat, to be honest.
Dennis Thompson, where are you when we need you?
Yeah, that's all right, though, Coach. We'll get you another week. Okay, so... let's talk about this Southeastern Conference and how this whole thing stacks up. There is no Coach Kennedy anymore at Kenosha Bradford.
Is that good or bad?
Well, it's good for the rest of the conference that he's gone. But he's actually down in Florida. I mean, it's been a couple of years now. So
is that where he's at?
He's down in the Orlando area now. So he left up in the Green Bay area after 1 year at Pulaski, and now he's down in Florida. So they have Bradford. You have Tremper, who has not been all that great lately. Mm-hmm. And then, of course, it's Franklin and Oak Creek. And I think it's going to be Franklin and Oak Creek again this year. Those two teams will be the two that will battle for the top of the SEC.
Well, you know what? Based on tradition, that's the smart money. I mean, they have been consistently good now for several years.
Oak Creek, just in terms of the city, is exploding population-wise. Right. And with that comes the youth. And it's a one-school town. And that is the benefit that Oak Creek and Franklin have over Kenosha and Racine that have 3 or 4 high schools in it.
Mm-hmm. But nevertheless, the teams in Racine in particular should be better at football than they have been. I mean, they have proven over the years they can be an elite team in this conference. Yeah. I mean, Parks won state titles.
Sure.
Horlick's been very competitive. Case has had some exceptional players over the years. So, but again, the thing about Oak Creek, everybody's penciling them in, but they lost a lot of guys. Sure. A lot of quality seniors have graduated, and whether they can rebound, which they probably will, it's one of those systems where you just
keep going.
Remains to be seen. But I think it's going to be a very, very interesting year, maybe a telling year, on the local scene here.
Bartholomew was at Kenosha Bradford and then went to Oak Creek, and has really had a consistent program since he's been at Oak Creek. Because remember, after Joe Cook left, there was a fall off pretty big time, and now Bartholomew has come into Oak Creek and revitalized that. Franklin has switched between coaches in the last couple of years, but they have maintained a high level as well. And their quarterback is a D1 quarterback at Franklin.
Don't they always have D1 quarterbacks at Franklin? It's like a pipeline, just bring somebody in. But, just talking about some of the teams in Racine County, I am very, very intrigued as to what is going to happen at Horlick High School. Do you realize during the last couple of years of the ill-fated George Machado era at Horlick, in 3 years, last 3 years, how many wins do you think they won in that span?
In the conference or overall?
Overall.
Last 3 years, I'll say.
Not counting last year. Greg Geeson's.
Well, Machado wasn't there last year.
Count the fingers.
Machado hasn't been there for a while.
No. But he had the leftover guys from Machado, his program.
Oh, no, that's not his. No. You can't do that. Don't say they're left over from Machado, because this is in college. You don't get to go out and recruit and pick your own kids.
No, but you got a system going.
At Horlick.
You don't leave the cupboard bare.
Yeah, but what do you mean you don't leave the cupboard bare? He doesn't get to replace the players.
Can you count the number of fingers on Greg Geeson's hand?
No.
Whether it was Machado's fault or not. I mean, who cares?
4.
You can count. I am so impressed. 4 wins in 3 previous years. Last year, they won 4 conference games. So Brian Fletcher, I think, has just done a terrific job of changing the culture. And, this team, I think, has a chance. I'm not saying to contend for the title, but they did make the playoffs last year. And they have, in my mind, the best player in the conference in Ricky Neal.
Oh,
at
yes.
quarterback.
Yeah.
I mean, he's already drawing.
He got hurt at the end of last year in that playoff game.
Yeah, I mean, he's kind of like Jordan Payne was for Park a couple of years ago. I mean, he's a big-time quarterback. He's drawing college interest. Get this, I wrote down some numbers here. I come prepared. Where's your cheat sheet? Great athlete. Notice how I wrote great athlete?
I see that. I don't know how you can read that handwriting.
1,259 yards rushing.
I saw him play 3
13
times.
yards touchdowns, okay? So, I mean, he's good. But what impresses me even more is their defense. They got 3 guys back that made either first team or second team, all county or all conference.
I agree. Horlick's the best team probably right now in Racine.
Yeah. Matt Hammond is back. Mike Roquist is back. Avanta James back. All those guys made all county first, second team. Plus, they had 2 guys in honorable mention, Xavier Scott and Leon Reyes, who's a very good player, very underrated player. So, they made the playoffs last year, and I fully expect them to make the playoffs again this year and maybe even go a step further.
What about Racine Park?
That's the $64,000 question. A couple years ago, he had Jordan Payne, who's now at Elkhorn State. Trivia question. What NFL quarterback played at Elkhorn State?
Who's dead? Steve McNair.
He's not dead.
Yeah. Go ahead.
He's dead, yes.
Yeah.
That was pretty good. Yeah, that was pretty witty.
All right, yeah.
But anyways, he's down there, and Jordan Payne was like the be-it-all athlete. I mean, whatever you wanted to do, he could do it.
Sure.
But now their quarterback situation is kind of in a state of flux. They'll probably bring up somebody from the junior varsity. And let's face it, anytime somebody makes that transition, it's not easy, especially at the high school level. So I think there's going to be some struggles early. But at the same time, their offensive line, which Dennis Thompson has told me has been a real issue for them in the last several years, is much improved. And they got some really nice players. A kid named Omar Young.
Yeah.
He was an all-county player last year, and he's a beast. I mean, he could dominate in this conference.
That's good.
So he's one guy that definitely is going to help. And then the tight end, Richard Flores, I think he's coming back from last I heard. And he was an all-county selection last year as well. So, there's some pieces there, and if they all come together, they could be, a pretty competitive team.
And then, of course, you have Racine Case. Coach Pancotti, last week we talked about that. They lost 3 really close, heartbreaking games at the end that they should have won last year and couldn't win. And now this is year number 2 for Coach Pancotti as he continues to try and install his way of doing things on and off the field, booster club, everything else. It's a process.
Has anyone ever sneezed down the air?
Probably. I'm guessing probably, yeah.
But anyways, if I sneeze, please excuse me. But anyways, they lost their starting quarterback too, Noel Rivera, who was just a very, very solid, steady player. And like I said before, when you have to replace a quarterback, I mean, without a doubt, the most important player on the team. Yeah, you're going to have your ups and downs, and I think that's going to be an issue with Case. He does have some nice players back, especially on defense. And again, I come prepared with Deion Ferris and Larry Holston.
Yeah.
Okay, they are both linebackers.
Deion Ferris is awesome.
Yeah, and Holston was a big-time player for him last year too. So if you have 2 good linebackers at the high school level, they can atone for a lot of mistakes if you don't have a good defense line. So I think Case is slowly but surely heading in the right direction.
Yeah, I agree with you on that. So Horlick's the best team, obviously, of these 3 Racine schools in the Southeastern Conference. Give me your top 3 in the Southeastern Conference when the year's over.
Oh, you got, like we said earlier at the outset of the show, you got to go with Oak Creek, you got to go with Franklin. What's going to happen with Kenosha Bradford? Are they going to get back on track, or what's your good feeling on that?
I think they're a middle-of-the-road program now.
Middle-of-the-road.
And I think they're a middle-of-the-road program because Indian Trail coming in cut into them and Tremper. Yeah. So Kenosha now essentially is going to end up like Racine, where it's going to be hard to ever have a dominant team for an extended period of time.
Why?
Because you're not going to be able to have the same amount of talent. When you were having 2 public high schools, you had more talent to be able to go to both schools. Now with 3, that talent gets cut in the third.
Sure.
So it's very difficult to have a dominant run of 5, 6, 7 years or something like that with a high school when you're getting it cut into thirds.
That's probably true, but all these schools, the enrollment is up around 2,000.
Sure.
So I mean, some coach that's out there that's really aggressive and like Pancotti, I mean, who knows what he's going to do 2-3 years from now. But I think he's got the right idea. You get those feeder programs going and entice kids to go. I mean, years ago when Machado was here, he ran a spread offense and threw the ball a lot. So if you were a quarterback, you wanted to get in that system. So a lot of the good quarterbacks went to Horlick. Okay?
I'm confused. Isn't it with where you live? Isn't it all districted out?
Open enrollment. You can go wherever you want.
Wherever you want.
Yep.
Well, that's good because in Kenosha
yeah.
it's districted. So
No. Throughout the state now, it's open enrollment. It doesn't.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So I mean, if you
So now you literally can recruit at a public high school level.
pretty much, yeah.
Can you explain to me how that is okay?
Yeah, well, now the
Because
playing
we're the
field
private
is balanced.
schools. Private schools
Sure.
were getting killed for being able to recruit.
Right.
So if you can go wherever you want now, if I'm Pancotti, I can go walking into Horlick's back neighborhood and grab people.
Well, sure. I mean, another classic example is
That's a horrible idea.
It is Park. I mean,
Horrible concept.
Yeah, at Park, if you
Greg
were
looks confused. It's a horrible concept.
not really. I mean, it's good.
Yes, it is.
I mean, a lot of schools have different programs set up for students, not just athletes. Where you want to go.
I don't like it.
Here, but I mean, I'll give you another classic example. When you were a top flight running back in the city, you would go to Park. First it was Brent Moss,
Sure.
and then it was Johnny Clay,
Yeah.
and then they had I can't think of the other kid who was a.
See, that's interesting because when
But
Jet
they would-
left Bradford,
Yeah.
the conversation was it was districted off. So he was going to lose a good portion of his players to Indian Trail, and Tremper was going to lose a portion of their players to Indian Trail. That was all district. That was 2 years ago. So if you're saying that changed in Kenosha, so be it. But
How
according,
come our producer's laughing here?
I don't know.
We should just bring him in and say, okay, what's going on here? One of us is
so
wrong.
If you're saying Racine is open enrollment, you
No,
can
I'm
go
saying
wherever you
the
want.
whole state is, from what I understand. That you can.
Greg Easton is saying yes, and the Kenosha coaches better explain
Yeah,
what
learn
they
that.
were talking about 2 years ago.
So yeah. So I mean, again,
Because that was the biggest debate amongst Tremper and Bradford was Indian Trail was going to cut into their kids because of how the layout of the district was. And the map, they showed me
sure.
the map of Indian Trail is going to take a lot of kids from Kenosha Bradford and a little bit from Kenosha Tremper based on the guidelines of where all these kids live.
it's a good thing you show up and are educated.
You should get a Kenosha coach on and ask him.
Get a Kenosha coach on?
Yeah, one of you guys can call a Kenosha coach and ask him.
Okay. Well,
You're saying this has been going on for how long, Greg? 100 years?
not quite. About
20
10
years?
10 years, maybe.
10 years?
What Gary's saying is a little off.
Gary's saying it's a little off.
A little off. Okay, but
A
mostly
little
right.
off.
That's all I care about.
I
It's
don't
the
know.
old, if it's 80% or better, we go with it.
I'm totally confused now, so somebody can email
right.
Gery Woelfel
We'll
and
follow
clarify.
up next week's Sports Junkies. We'll get a definitive statement as to what the rules are.
Yeah, I don't. Okay. He's Gery Woelfel of the Racine Journal-Times. I'm Steve Sparky Fifer. This is another very confusing edition of the Sports Junkies where I'm more confused now than I was before this whole video
That's saying a lot.
started. That'll do it. He's Gery Woelfel. I'm Steve Sparky Fifer. We'll talk to you next week right here on Sports Junkies.
Hi, I'm Matt Collins. I'd like to welcome you to Bob Weber Auto Mart on Douglas Avenue here in Racine, across from Douglas Park. We specialize in 1-year-old, low mileage, almost new cars. And if you'd like to stop by and see them, or see them on our website, bobweberautomart.com, we could save you between $5,000 and $10,000 on your next almost new car purchase.